Research on human aggression has progressed to a point at which a unifying framework is needed. Major domain-limited theories of aggression include cognitive neo-association, social learning, social interaction, script, and excitation transfer theories. Using the General Aggression Model, GAM, this review posits cognition, affect, and arousal to mediate the effects of situational and personological variables on aggression. The review also organizes recent theories of the development and persistence of aggressive personality. Personality is conceptualized as a set of stable knowledge structures that individuals use to interpret events in their social world and to guide their behavior. In addition to organizing what is already known about human aggression, this review, using the GAM framework, also serves the heuristic function of suggesting what research is needed to fill in theoretical gaps and can be used to create and test interventions for reducing aggression. In its most extreme forms, aggression is human tragedy unsurpassed. Hopes that the horrors of World War II and the Holocaust would produce a worldwide revulsion against killing have been dashed. Since World War II, homicide rates have actually increased rather than decreased in a number of industrialized countries, most notably the United States. Thus, in recent years, there has been renewed interest in learning why humans sometimes behave aggressively. Some of the causes of increased violence have been identified. For example, the accessibility of guns, global warming, violence against children in schools and homes, and the widespread exposure to violent entertainment media all contribute to the high level of violence and aggression in modern societies. Recent psychological research has yielded promising new treatments, new empirical discoveries, and new theoretical analyses. We begin by offering some basic definitions. Next, we describe several domain-specific theories of aggression. Finally, we describe the General Aggression Model, an integrative framework that will bring more order and structure to the field of aggression. Subsequent sections address inputs, roots, and outcomes of aggression, illustrating recent advances in aggression research. Basic definitions. Aggression. Human aggression is any behavior directed toward another individual that is carried out with the proximate, immediate intent to cause harm. In addition, the perpetrator must believe that the behavior will harm the target and that the target is motivated to avoid the behavior. Accidental harm is not aggressive because it is not intended. Harm that is an incidental byproduct of helpful actions is also not aggressive because the harm doer believes that the target is not motivated to avoid the action, e.g., pain experienced during a dental procedure. Similarly, the pain administered in sexual masochism is not aggressive because the victim is not motivated to avoid it. Indeed, the pain is actively solicited in service of a higher goal. Violence. Violence is aggression that has extreme harm as its goal, e.g., death. All violence is aggression, but many instances of aggression are not violent. For example, one child pushing another off a tricycle is an act of aggression but is not an act of violence. Hostile versus instrumental aggression. Hostile aggression has historically been conceived as being impulsive, thoughtless, i.e., unplanned, driven by anger, having the ultimate motive of harming the target, and occurring as a reaction to some perceived provocation. It is sometimes called affective, impulsive, or reactive aggression. Instrumental aggression is conceived as a premeditated means of obtaining some goal other than harming the victim and being proactive rather than reactive. Our recent analysis modifies these definitions in two ways. First, we distinguish between proximate and ultimate goals. We view intention to harm as a necessary feature of all aggression, as in purely hostile aggression models, but it is necessary only as a proximate goal. Second, we distinguish between different types of aggression at the level of ultimate goal. Thus, both robbery and physical assault are acts of aggression because both include intention to harm the victim at a proximate level. However, they typically differ in ultimate goals, with robbery serving primarily profit-based goals and assault serving primarily harm-based goals. In short, our definition allows us to discuss the commonalities in and distinctions between affective and instrumental aggression, while including aggression that has mixed motives. Domain-specific theories of aggression. 5 main theories of aggression guide most current research. The theories themselves overlap considerably, which is what instigated early attempts to integrate them into a broader framework. Cognitive neo-association theory. Berkowitz has proposed that aversive events, such as frustrations, provocations, loud noises, uncomfortable temperatures, and unpleasant odors, produce negative affect. Negative affect produced by unpleasant experiences automatically stimulates various thoughts, memories, expressive motor reactions, and physiological responses associated with both fight and flight tendencies. The fight associations give rise to rudimentary feelings of anger, whereas the flight associations give rise to rudimentary feelings of fear. Furthermore, cognitive neo-association theory assumes that cues present during an aversive event become associated with the event and with the cognitive and emotional responses triggered by the event. In cognitive neo-association theory, aggressive thoughts, emotions, and behavioral tendencies are linked together in memory. Figure 1 contains a simplified schematic of an associative memory structure in which the concept of gun is linked to a number of aggression-related concepts. Concepts with similar meanings, e.g. hurt, harm, and concepts that frequently are activated simultaneously, e.g. shoot, gun, develop strong associations. In Figure 1, associations are illustrated by lines between the concepts, with thicker lines representing stronger associations and shorter distances representing greater similarity of meaning. When a concept is primed or activated, this activation spreads to related concepts and increases their activation as well. Figure 1, simplified associative network with aggression concepts and a retaliation script. Okay, so close are hurt, harm, shoot, gun, and kill as the aggression concepts, which link into a retaliation script of pain, intentional, ridicule, anger, retaliate, and use gun. Cognitive neo-association theory also includes higher-order cognitive processes, such as appraisals and attributions. If people are motivated to do so, they might think about how they feel, make causal attributions for what led them to feel this way, and consider the consequences of acting on their feelings. Such deliberate thought produces more clearly differentiated feelings of anger, fear, or both. It can also suppress or enhance the action tendencies associated with these feelings. Cognitive neo-association theory not only subsumes the earlier frustration-aggression hypothesis, but it also provides a causal mechanism for explaining why aversive events increase aggressive inclinations, i.e., via negative affect. This model is particularly suited to explain hostile aggression, but the same priming and spreading activation processes are also relevant to other types of aggression. Social learning theory. According to social learning theories, Bandura 1983, Mitchell 1973, people acquire aggressive responses the same way they acquire other complex forms of social behavior, either by direct experience or by observing others. Social learning theory explains the acquisition of aggressive behaviors via observational learning processes and provides a useful set of concepts for understanding and describing the beliefs and expectations that guide social behavior. Social learning theory, especially key concepts regarding the development and change of expectations and how one construes the social world, is particularly useful in understanding the acquisition of aggressive behaviors and in explaining instrumental aggression. For example, Patterson's work on family interactions and the development of antisocial behavior patterns relies heavily on this approach. Script theory. Huseman, 1998, proposed that when children observe violence in the mass media, they learn aggressive scripts. Scripts define situations and guide behavior. The person first selects a script to represent the situation, and then assumes a role in the script. Once a script has been learned, it may be retrieved at some later time and used as a guide for behavior. This approach can be seen as a more specific and detailed account of social learning processes. Scripts are sets of particularly well-rehearsed, highly associated concepts in memory, often involving causal links, goals, and action plans. When items are so strongly linked that they form a script, they become a unitary concept in semantic memory. Furthermore, even a few script rehearsals can change a person's expectations and intentions, involving important social behaviors. A frequently rehearsed script gains accessibility strength in two ways. Multiple rehearsals create additional links to other concepts in memory, thus increasing the number of paths by which it can be activated. Multiple rehearsals also increase the strength of the links themselves. Thus, a child who has witnessed several thousand instances of using a gun to settle a dispute on television is likely to have a very accessible script that has generalized across many situations. In other words, the script becomes chronically accessible. This theory is particularly useful in accounting for the generalization of social learning processes and the automatization and simplification of complex perception, judgment, decision, behavioral processes. Figure 1 includes an example of one simple aggression script involving retaliation. Excitation transfer theory. Excitation transfer theory, Zillman 1983, notes that physiological arousal dissipates slowly. If two arousing events are separated by a short amount of time, arousal from the first event may be misattributed to the second event. If the second event is related to anger, then the additional arousal should make the person even angrier. The notion of excitation transfer also suggests that anger may be extended over long periods of time if a person has consciously attributed his or her heightened arousal to anger. Thus, even after the arousal has dissipated, the person remains ready to aggress for as long as the self-generated label of anger persists. Social interaction theory. Social interaction theory, Tedeschi and Felsen 1994, interprets aggressive behavior or coercive actions as social influence behavior, i.e., an actor uses coercive actions to produce some change in the target's behavior. Coercive actions can be used by an actor to obtain something of value, e.g., information, money, goods, sex, services, safety, to exact retributive justice for perceived wrongs, or to bring about desired social and self-identities, e.g., toughness, competence. According to this theory, the actor is a decision-maker whose choices are directed by the expected rewards, costs, and probabilities of obtaining different outcomes. Social interaction theory provides an explanation of aggressive acts motivated by higher-level or ultimate goals. Even hostile aggression might have some rational goal behind it, such as punishing the provocateur in order to reduce the likelihood of further provocations. This theory provides an excellent way to understand recent findings that aggression is often the result of threats to high self-esteem, especially to unwarranted high self-esteem, i.e. narcissism. The general aggression model. A heap of stones is not a house. Science is built up with fact, as a house is with stone, but a collection of fact is no more a science than a heap of stones is a house. Jules Henri Poincaré. Poincaré's analogy fits the scientific study of aggression. The several current domain-specific theories are the important stones awaiting blueprints, mortar, and a construction crew to build a much more useful house, a general theory of human aggression. This chapter presents the most recent version of our integrative framework, called the General Aggression Model, GAM. This theoretical framework was designed to integrate existing many theories of aggression into a unified whole. We have fruitfully used various forms of this model for several years. This general model has at least 4 advantages over smaller domain theories. First, it is more parsimonious than the set of existing many theories. Second, it better explains aggressive acts that are based on multiple motives, e.g. both instrumental and affect-based aggression. Third, it will aid in the development of more comprehensive interventions designed to treat individuals who are chronically aggressive. Many current treatment attempts fail because they focus on only one specific type of aggression or use only one mini-theoretical approach to treatment. Fourth, it provides broader insights about child rearing and development issues. thus enabling parents, teachers, and public policy makers to make better decisions about child rearing practices. We believe that GAM provides a useful integrative framework for domain-specific theories of aggression, transforming a heap of stones into a house. For this chapter, we have expanded earlier versions of the model. Specifically, we have dropped the affective part of the earlier general affective aggression model based on the new and broadening definitions of the proximate and ultimate goals of aggression elucidated in Bushman and Anderson 2001. GAM draws heavily on recent work on the development and use of knowledge structures for perception, interpretation, decision-making, and action. Key features include the ideas that knowledge structures develop out of experience, influence perception at multiple levels, from basic visual patterns to complex behavioral sequences, can become automatized with use, can contain or are linked to affective states, behavioral programs, and beliefs, and are used to guide people's interpretations and behavioral responses to their social and physical environment. 3 particularly relevant subtypes of knowledge structures are perceptual schemata, which are used to identify phenomena as simple as everyday physical objects, chair or person, or as complex as social events, personal insult. Person schemata, which include beliefs about a particular person or groups of people, and behavioral scripts, which contain information about how people behave under varying circumstances. Knowledge structures include affect in 3 different ways. First, they contain links to experiential affect nodes or concepts. When a knowledge structure containing anger is activated, anger is experienced. Second, they include knowledge about affect, such as when a particular emotion should be experienced, how emotions influence people's judgments and behavior, and so on. Third, a script may include affect as an action rule. For example, a personal insult script may prescribe aggressive retaliation, but only if anger is at a high level or fear is at a low level. GAM focuses on the person in the situation, called an episode, consisting of one cycle of an ongoing social interaction. Figure 2 presents a simplified version of the main foci of the model. The 3 main foci concern person and situation inputs, cognitive, affective, and arousal routes through which these input variables have their impact, and outcomes of the underlying appraisal and decision processes. Figure 2, the general aggression model episodic processes. Okay, so the inputs are the person and the situation, which leads to the routes, which is the present internal state, affect, cognition, and arousal, which leads to the outcomes of appraisal and decision processes. Now these split and lead to either thoughtful action or impulsive action, which leads to the social encounter, which loops back around in a cycle to the inputs of the person and the situation. Inputs. Aggression research focuses on discovering what biological, environmental, psychological, and social factors influence aggressive behavior, and on how to use these discoveries to reduce unwarranted aggression. These factors can be categorized as features of the situation or as features of the person in the situation. The following list of personological and situational input variables is illustrative of key causal factors. Though this list is somewhat biased towards recent research and is not comprehensive, discussing it in a GAM framework leads to a simpler and more comprehensive understanding of human aggression than is possible using the mini-theory approach so commonly used throughout contemporary psychology. Specifically, GAM indicates the types of underlying processes to examine to see how various inputs lead to aggressive or non-aggressive behavior. Person factors. Person factors include all the characteristics a person brings to the situation, such as personality traits, attitudes, and genetic predispositions. Stable person factors are those that display consistency across time, across situations, or across both. This consistency is largely the result of the person's consistent use of schemata, scripts, and other knowledge structures. In a very real sense, personality is the sum of a person's knowledge structures. Knowledge structures also influence what situations a person will selectively seek out and what situations will be avoided, further contributing to trait-like consistency. Together, person factors comprise an individual's preparedness to aggress.